All right, Hannes, thanks for coming back on the show, man. The last time you were on, the sound quality was freaking horrible, so I've got to redeem myself for that. And you just ran the Leadville 100, and I just saw a couple minutes ago you got seventh place, man.
Yeah,
So congrats! I wanted to have you back in the show. Leadville's my favorite race. I wanted to hear all about it, man.
thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah. No, I think anytime you finish 100, you're just really happy to make it to the finish line, and that's definitely the case for me. But I was super happy with the result. I think in the end as well.
for sure.
Yeah, I'm stoked to be on.
Now, how many hundreds have you done?
This was my fifth 100
Okay,
fourth finish, so I have one very regrettable DNF. But yeah.
gotcha. Okay, cool. Um, and from what I read, and I think I might have just read this on your Instagram, like you had big ambitions for this race. Like you might have had some other numbers in your head that you didn't quite reach. So, can you tell us about these ambitious goals you had, or what were your thoughts going into this thing?
Yeah, no, I think they're super fair questions. I definitely had hoped to do it a little bit faster. I feel like that's almost the case with most of us in hundreds. It's
Sure.
like always kind of have this, like really like it's almost like college, right? You're like you got the reach school that you apply to, and you have like your places you think you'll probably get into, and maybe like the safety school. And I kind of written out splits for I called it hallelujah pace. It was like, oh, if everything's going awesome and the wheels are turning perfect and there's no real like problems, then maybe I could hit this. I think I was probably a little over ambitious, hoping to squeeze under 18 hours was like this really ambitious goal I had. Um, I think somewhere deep down, I kind of thought I would fall into the low 18s. And
Okay.
then uh, I always had this dream, when I go to Leadville, I'm going to win Leadville. And it was just like this weird dream that grew over the years of being in ultra running and of having done this for 6 or 7 years now. Um, but I had a strange year. So I had to kind of, I think, admittedly readjust. Like I had this point where I was like, I'm never going to run Leadville unless I feel like I could potentially win. Like
Ah,
that my fitness is peaking, that I'm at this like perfect place in my training, that I'm mentally there. And I like admittedly just had to reframe that with Leadville this year. I think I knew that I wasn't probably at a place of fitness where I was going to contend with that top spot, but I
mhm.
was really hopeful that I could squeeze on the podium. So, am I disappointed with seventh? Like, not at all. I think I'm really, really happy with the result.
Good.
But the kind of a goal there would have probably been to be on the podium.
Yeah, yeah. Now, the last time I talked to you, you had just completed Nolan's 14, which in itself is a huge accomplishment and something I'm still in awe of. But I think that you were injured after that and you had to take a little break from running, if I remember right.
Yeah, I found out that I was injured during it. I had
Right.
and even training before, I'd had this weird pain in my toe that I thought was nerve pain, or at least that's how I'd like explained it to myself. And um, I did Nolan's not knowing that I had a bone infection in my toe.
Oh,
So I keep joking to all my friends that I think I'm the only Nolan's 14 finisher that had osteomyelitis while they did it. Uh, I probably shouldn't say that with any sort of pride, because had I known, I just wouldn't have done
right.
Nolan's.
Right.
So it's all a little bit ironic because I wouldn't be a Nolan's finisher had I like addressed the issue a little bit sooner. But yeah, I found that out after the fact. Um, they had surgery. I'd had a couple of screws in my toe that were there from a college basketball injury. And so that was the cause. And then there was a surgery, and the toe just took like an annoying amount of time to heal. I guess
Mhm.
is the best way that I can put it. I think I saw a physical therapist, Dr. Stephen Warfel in Aspen, who really made a massive difference in it too. But I just struggled at the beginning of 2021 being able to train at all. which was, going into a race like Leadville, where you feel like there's some really fast people that show up and really fit people that show up for a 700 person race. So I definitely would have, have loved to had it a little bit of a different year, but I don't know. Everybody probably that came to that start line had their own struggles and hurdles that they had to face as they were training. So by the time I got like a month out, I felt really confident that I could race it, with some kind of readjusted goals. And I told myself I was going to run smart. I'm not sure that I did that. That was kind of everything leading up, coming out of Nolan's. It ended up being a 6-month stretch that I wasn't able to run. And I think that was, as much as anything, just tough mentally. I've got a girlfriend who was just really strong for me during that period, because there were some, low moments where you're just a little down that you can't do what you love. And it's not even about all these crazy dreams and goals anymore. It's just about, man, I just wish I could run.
Right. Mental health.
Totally. Something that you love that much and is that big a part of what you love doing, to be stripped was a challenge for a half a year. Not to mention just the strangeness of COVID and everything that's been going on. I think all of it was, I just ended up being at a place where by the time I got to the race, I was super grateful. And I feel like that term gets overused probably a little bit. But for me, it just is extremely true that by the time I got to the start line, I was just so grateful that training had gone well enough for a few months that I could be there, that the pain wasn't there in my toe. I was just at a very thankful place. And I think that's a super good mental place to actually be going into a race.
Yeah.
That was kind of the lead up. Definitely wasn't like dreamy training or anything like that. I would call it like just good enough,
Sure. Yeah.
Just kind of stringing together a few weeks and months that worked well enough to be ready for Leadville.
Okay.
As much as you can be ready for 100.
Yeah. Right. Which is what, maybe 50% or so. You're like, I'm kind of trained up, but who knows what's going to happen today? Just never really know. Do you work with a coach, or are you kind of,
you really don't.
Do you work with a coach?
I don't. I've been solo now for I think well over a year and a half. I still give a ton of credit to David Roach. I've worked with him for almost a year, and I really did learn a ton from him. I thought he was a huge aspect to my running progressing. I just found, for me personally, it really didn't have anything to do with David as much as I was better off mentally kind of telling myself what to do, and had a little bit more fun with the freedom that I found in that. So, but I never remiss to give David credit. I still think, if anybody was looking for a great coach, he's an awesome option, and he definitely taught me a ton. But no, at this point I'm by myself.
Okay. Do you write up training plans for yourself, and are you marking like numbers and dates and things down on a piece of paper or a calendar, and sort of mapping months out when you're planning for a big race like this? Or are you just kind of going by feel, so to speak?
I'm definitely more on the feel spectrum, but I end up with pretty concrete goals on what I'm trying to accomplish. This stretch was unique because I felt like I had to almost stay in a build phase for longer than I wanted to, just to kind of come back. And I just was really logical mentally for me to add 5 miles a week. And I just kept adding 5 miles a week. And I kind of grew my mileage that way. But I didn't write that out. I just kind of went based off, hey, look, I think that when I'm really training hard, I do try to I don't write it out, but I do try to put some pretty concrete goals on my calendar. Like a downhill workout where I really thrash my quads, flat workout. I think Leadville's specifically challenging to train for because you have to do everything. You have to run uphill. You have to be able to run fast downhill. You've got to be able to run flats well. So I do try to structure my training so that I'm hitting key workouts, workouts being just hard days in my mind with some like more specificity to what I'm doing versus just go out and run 20 miles. Mm-hmm. I do try to hit those, and I would like to do a workout and then do like a relatively mellow long day after. But I've never been one that works well with like a log that I write or mm-hmm. anything like that. I actually find Strava just to be like super useful for mm-hmm. my own mileage collection and kind of using the general guide as a log. But most of the time I just run on feel. I think I heard Courtney DeWalter say that she like really doesn't structure things a lot and goes ton on feel. And I could be totally off on that, but I just feel like I resonated with that especially when I'm training really well, it's all coming because I'm just letting it happen. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm having to force runs or grit it out. Sometimes I have to start, I notice I have to start giving myself goals because I need an extra push, or maybe I'm struggling a little bit mentally in training. So I'll say, okay, I got to hit 90 next week or 80 or whatever the number is. And, but no, I don't really use like a concrete training plan in advance.
For sure. Are you incorporating anything else like cross training or Pilates or yoga or anything crazy like that?
No, I find so I know this sounds really odd, but with my toe, it's been really hard to incorporate some of the stuff that I would really like to, like planking and really like normal things that I think should or could be a part of anybody's running. I feel like, I don't remember where I saw this, but it was some runner that had done well at UTMB who said like, I just don't have the mental capacity when I'm training well and putting big runs together to like do all this extra stuff.
Right. Totally.
And I find myself more in that bucket than I do. I think I'm looking towards cycling as a way to kind of get some extra stuff in on the side, but in short, no, I really just run.
Yeah.
Right now I love running. I find that my body, until this like, really unique bone infection, it had been really resilient to all the running and done really well. Other than coaching basketball, where I really jump in with the kids quite a bit, if you can call that a form of cross training, it does make me pretty sore sometimes.
Right.
But I don't have like Pilates or yoga or really any concrete stretching. I'll do some light stretching kind of after runs and try to get myself warmed up before big runs, but nothing that I would call like consistent enough to be worthy of mention.
For sure. For sure. You are kind of a bigger guy. You're bigger than your average runner. How tall are you, and how much do you weigh, if you don't mind saying so?
No, that's fine. I'm 6'3". I like to be at a race weight. I honestly haven't weighed myself in 2021, so I wouldn't have like a concrete number, but I know that from the times I've weighed myself and I'm like race fit, I end up being right around 170 for like what I call race weight, which just means like I'm running a ton and calories are burning quickly. I'm 6'3", so I end up definitely being on the taller side. Feel like I'm a little bit of a locomotive out there, not the highest top end, not the lowest end, but a pretty good motor in the middle. Yeah, I think I probably train closer in the 180s as far as weight goes. But then I always try to get really tight on my diet and really specific with calories in, calories out. Not that I count it, but I just think when I'm training really hard and I'm getting close to a race, extra weight isn't helpful. So I do just try to be race lean without like making it a big deal. You know, I think when you start stressing about that and you're like trying to be is skinny for skinny's sake, that's unhealthy. But I just think I recognize that it doesn't help to have 5 or 10 extra pounds if it, you know, if it means cutting out beer 2 or 3 weeks out, which is what I try to do.
Right.
You know, simple little thing on your diet, maybe a month out from the race, can probably make a big difference on just shedding a few pounds. And so, yeah, I do that kind of thing, but I don't try to freak out about it. My girlfriend will tell you that I eat very well when I'm training. Almost maybe a little bit too much sometimes, but no, I just like, I'm a big guy, I can eat. And when I'm training hard, I typically just let the calories come down and let the weight fall where it may.
Okay. And you just moved over the last, like maybe year or so. Are you in Crested Butte now, or where are you at?
You got it. Yeah,
Okay.
no, we moved from Denver to Crested Butte. Yeah, we just closed on our little condo here.
Oh, nice.
We're really excited.
Cool.
Yeah,
Congrats.
we want to make this like home. So
Nice.
thank you. We're really like super excited and just feel like one of the big reasons we moved here, besides just the trails being incredible, was we'd heard there was a tight-knit community and we felt very much embraced by that. And our super proud Crested Buttons, or I don't even know if that's how you say it. That's how fresh I am. But yeah, we love it here.
Cool.
We're really, really excited.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful place. Do you ski or anything like that? I can't remember. Do you do any winter sports?
Yeah, I do. I do both. I feel like I'm a really light novice backcountry skier and a pretty advanced like resorts. I mostly have skied resorts my whole life, and then over the last few years started getting into backcountry. But admittedly, I don't think I've done that much that I always feel like a fraud saying I backcountry ski. I've done it a handful of times every winter, but like never so consistently that one of the reasons we were excited to move here was that there is the resort. So, you know, that's just an awesome little thing to have in our backyard. And to my right here our balcony looks at the ski resort, and we're just like really excited for winter because I've skied my whole life. And while I'm definitely not like some expert skier, I love it enough to be really excited for winter. And I plan to pick up skate skiing, which is really popular here.
Yeah, it is.
A ton of groomed trails, and just seems like a really great way to kind of cross train during the winter and not have to beat my legs up so much, do something else for the lungs. So yeah, I can't say that I'm like more excited for winter than summer. Summer's still where it's at for me. Right. But yeah, we do ski, and we enjoy the winter as much as we can.
Nice. Do you feel like skiing gives you like another gear? Like most of the guys that I know, they're skiing all winter long. You know, I feel like their engine just runs a little bit higher, or they can just get to that next gear. Have you noticed that at all with you personally?
I think until this last winter when I was injured, I really was finding winters to be, because I do some of the uphill skiing, and I do think it helps to strengthen your legs and give you a really great endurance base, build your lungs. But I spend way more time training on a treadmill and doing really like kind of challenging stuff mentally on a treadmill. And I don't love it. I don't love the treadmill. But in the winter, I feel like it's like this time where I can make progress that I just won't in the same way necessarily in the summer, because I just use a treadmill differently. So, well, to your question, I don't really feel like I ski or have skied enough over the last few winters to have it have like a big impact on my running. I've actually just done a ton of running in the winters. So I didn't really take like an off season, or I'm pretty good about taking rest after races and giving myself enough time. But I didn't really give myself like a full off season or anything like that over the last few years. And I think I was so focused on running that it was starting to take away from actually getting to ski as much as I was normally doing before. I think it's so different, but it is such an awesome way to build strength and endurance in your legs. Like skiing just taxes you a lot. I could be fit and then go skiing and be like, man, I need to ski a few more times. My legs are like not ready for that. Which I think there's probably like a lot of little smaller muscles and little things that are going on when you're skiing. Very different. I try to be a little bit careful. I've had some times where I've ran a lot and then I've skied a lot, and I've found that just for me, it was a little bit taxing on my IT band. One time I started developing like an Achilles issue when I was doing a lot of uphill skiing. So I've tried to just be really balanced in a way that I'm not like feeling like I'm driving myself to an injury. Because I don't know what it is, but maybe it's because I'm a bigger guy and just all the different motions. I find I do a little bit better when I just focus on one thing and I'm not trying to incorporate too many different motions at once.
Yeah. You seem like a balanced guy, pretty much like all around. Do you feel like you're a pretty grounded person? And I think you mentioned that you teach kids basketball. So like, what do you do for a living? And I know that's probably a few different questions thrown into one.
No, I'm not grounded. I feel like everybody wants to answer that with a yes, who would want to say no? I think, I think I'm really fortunate to have had great parents that, I think raised me really well. I think I have a girlfriend who's just not just good to me, but supports me in a way that's been incredibly impactful. I don't know. I like to think am I grounded? But I also have these like really big running ambitions. So I feel like sometimes when you're trying to be confident and you're trying to have self-belief and you're trying to like attack things that maybe some of your friends think if you said that out loud, it's a little crazy. Like you're going to win Leadville. Like so that's not exactly grounded. I don't know. I just think I believe in going after your dreams and going after your goals. And I know that especially in running, it's not really about talent, in my opinion. It's like way more about hard work over time. And so I'm grounded from that perspective, that I'm super lucky with the life I'm getting to live, that I'm super fortunate in the life my parents have been able to help me set up, so to speak, by, I think, giving me a great foundation. And then, I've got like the 3 best dogs in the world. So I think all those things make it easy. I do coach high school basketball. I'm like super, super hopeful that I might be like the head coach next year.
Oh, nice.
Just applied. I probably shouldn't even like bring it up, but I was the assistant coach, and I just like, I found very little. I love ultra running. I genuinely love running, but I don't think I find it nearly as fulfilling as I do coaching high school kids. And I played college basketball, so it's kind of like a passion from the past for sure. But I've found the enjoyment and satisfaction just from a purely selfish level with high school kids. Just there's nothing else in life that I've, enjoyed in that capacity. And that, that feels like just being able to have found what you're meant to do too, right? Like I don't feel, when I'm coaching, I don't really feel like I'm having to like try to connect with the kids. It just feels like we resonate with one another. And then I just really love every element of coaching. So that part has, and it also makes you feel grounded because you're just constantly learning. There's always like man, I tripped over my tongue on trying to explain that drill right there. I could like do that a lot better next time. And I really wasn't getting through what I was trying to say to that one kid. So there's definitely tons and tons of learning that's happening there that keeps you and I can assure you this, high school kids will keep you humble.
Totally.
Especially when you have a receding hairline like I do. High school kids know how to keep you humble. And it's fun. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I would love to coach for the rest of my life if I get the choice.
Awesome.
So yeah, not sure if I answered every question.
Well, yeah, no, you did. Do your high school students know about what you did at Leadville?
Yeah, I get to do some like little private workouts, so I got to talk to a few of them, and they all just like, it's been really fun to get to hear them, you know, just giving me compliments and telling me how great they think it was. And
just wonder what the hell you're doing out there.
Unique. Yeah, I know.
Like I picture myself as a high school student. If someone had told me that they ran a 100-mile race, I'd just be like, "You're crazy. I don't want to talk to you."
And I get a lot of that. Yeah, I don't know. I think to most people that don't run 100 miles, it sounds a little bit crazy. And I think before I did it, it sounded a little bit crazy.
Totally.
Yeah, they know. I'm not shy about telling the kids when I'm running 100 miles.
Yeah.
I don't mind letting them know.
That's awesome. Well, I'm sure they're proud of you, man. That's cool. You got to let them know what time it is. Going for a little run this weekend. Just going to bust out an easy 100.
I'm going to be a little slower next week when we're doing our little lesson. So, but yeah, no, I think they're proud of me. At least the few that I've talked to have been really nice about it. So
killer. Well, I want to hear about Leadville for sure. So like, when did you know that you were in for Leadville, and did you adjust your training or anything when you knew you were signed up for this thing, or how did it all start?
Yeah, I knew I was in. I'd gotten in just through the basic lottery. I'd originally raced in through the marathon and gotten like a little gold coin. But that through the pandemic, somehow, I think I missed like the cutoff date to tell them when, what I wanted to do. So I just like reapplied through the lottery, got in, and I kind of had it was like this target where I thought to myself, because I was starting to jog again, it was a little bit painful, but I was starting to notice progress. And I just kept telling myself, stay within striking distance, you know, and I wasn't doing anything special in training. It was just like, try to get 40 miles this week, try to do that again next week, and try to build on that. And I just slowly, I think, was really fortunate to be able to build week by week by week. And then I think 2 months out, I didn't think I was going to run. I didn't think I had built well enough to be able to like go race well. And then over the next few weeks, training just went like about as perfect as it can. I just didn't have many bad runs. I felt like my long runs went really well, even if I felt like at the end of every single one of them, how am I going to go 100 miles? Like, I don't know if you're like that at all.
Oh God, I've been there, man, for sure.
Yeah. You're finishing fairly strong, but you're just like, man, I just did 38 and 62 more sounds like mind blowing.
Right.
So I never surpassed that place in my training, that's for sure. but things were going pretty well, and like well enough in that last 8-9 week period that I just started dialing up my training, trying to fine tune and do some workout stuff, and just get the mileage in. I didn't feel fit enough to be really as precise as I wanted to be with my training. I'm not sure if that makes any sense.
It totally does. Yep.
You know, sometimes it feels like you're more just trying to get the training in versus like be able to be at that point of summer fitness where you're like, oh, now I'm like dialing buttons and trying to target specific things. And yeah, I think I didn't really, I just knew that there's a lot of different things Leadville asks of you as a runner. You have to be able to run every single type of terrain. And Crested Butte is just an absolutely perfect place to be trying to do that. It has everything you could ask for, from mellow rolling hill trails to steep stuff to downhill miles. It was just really easy to get the training in. And, you know, it was my first summer living here. So I was like a kid in a candy store, just exploring trails, you know, and
Nice.
I think I was proud of myself during training. If there's one thing I'm like, pat on the back, I was proud of myself for just enjoying, like truly enjoying the process of discovering new trails, discovering a completely new area to me. And I was loving it. And I think that made training easy. It made me catch up more quickly, I think, and be able to kind of get to a pretty good place of fitness. And then I just said, yeah, you know what, maybe I'm not quite where I wish I was. And I'm not saying any of this stuff to like try to make an excuse about a result, or at least I'm hoping I'm not doing that, but I'm just, you know, trying to be objective about, like, I had to recognize that I wasn't quite where I wanted to be, but that I was at a really strong place. And yeah, I really was, you know, any of those guys, like, you know, Tyler or Cody, and if they have a day, and you know, Adrian really seemed like he did, and even Anton and Matt, they all just had incredibly strong runs. And I think I know that some of those guys on their best day, it's going to be tough for me to beat them. You know, I think I have to be either at my perfect level of fitness or kind of hope for a little bit more. I was amazed at how little attrition there actually was towards the front, considering how fast people went out. I think it was a cool day. It was a really good day to run a little bit faster. I know I got sucked into a pace early that was a little faster than I probably would have hoped. And yet, you know, you said this earlier, it's like, you don't know in 100 miles, you just never know as far as how your legs are going to play out over the first 60 or the last 40. You know, sometimes I feel amazing in the last 40. I've had those races, but it's really tough to know kind of like what's too fast, what's too slow here. And I think early on, if I could have some of those miles back, I was telling a friend this, it's not even like that I went out too fast at my overall pace. My overall pace was like right where I wanted it to be. But there were a few miles in there where like I ran downhill just like a little idiotically, you know, like just too fast. And it's not necessarily that I ran too fast for the whole first 23 miles, let's say. It was actually more like 6 miles in there that I think I would love to have back, and do like a minute per mile slower, and then kind of see where my legs would be. But that's really easy to say too, you know. You never really know in these hundreds. Like, I had a goal to kind of try to squeeze every drop I could out of my fitness, and I think I was able to do that, and just kind of, that was kind of the lead up or whatever.
Cool. Walk me through the race. Like you said that there's a few miles in there where you were going too fast in the beginning, but what did it look like? Were you caught up in the hype? I mean, I know how it is when you come into these races and you're rested and you're tapered and you're feeling good, and then the adrenaline kicks in and it's like, okay, I don't want to blow myself up here, but I'm going too fast. But you know, tell me about the day, man. I want to hear about everything.
Yeah, well, Leadville starts around Turquoise Lake. It's like, it's night, so you don't get to see the beauty of it all, but I've ran that in the day, and it's a really cool start, I actually think. I started out, I was looking at my watch, and I'm like in the low 6-minute miles, and I instantly just like put the brakes on and tried to run back. And then I remember talking to Adam Kimball for like 2 seconds, and then he put the brakes on me and dropped way back. And I thought I was in like an okay place pace wise. Anton passed me going up Sugarloaf. And Anton for me was like one of the biggest influences, if I can like cite one person of just inspiration. And right around the same time when I was coming into the sport, he was just like a mega influence on me. So I ended up running with him for a while. And by a while, not very long at all. But I was coming off Sugarloaf, and those were some of the miles I wish I had back, because I actually gained on Anton, and I knew that that was a mistake and a problem. I don't know why. I just decided to run that downhill really hard. I came into Twin Lakes at 37, feeling really good. That's outbound. And then you have the climb up Hope Pass and back up over Hope again. And I was feeling great. I hiked like the whole thing, but really efficiently, I felt like, and moved great going up Hope. I was eating everything, and that's not normal for me. I usually have a hard time eating in these things and like just have to like force it, but everything was just going down really easy. Food was flowing. So I felt good. And then I got close to Winfield and I just started tripping over my feet. I fell like twice going into Winfield, and in not, I mean, some falls are like, they're not all created equal, but these were really like, felt like stupid falls. I think part of it was my legs are tired. You're getting close to the halfway point at 50 miles. So there's definitely some like, got to pick your feet up. But there were even times I was focused and I couldn't quite figure out why, because I ended up falling again twice on the same stretch coming out of Winfield. And then thank goodness I started to have to hike, and I didn't fall while I was hiking to get back over the pass. And then running down that, I fell twice more. And at the last one, like my bottle cap popped off, and I'm like looking at the water and like squeeze all the water out, which is not smart because I could have at least like drank the last bit. In my stupidity, I was like squeeze it all out. And I remember just like getting on the ground and being like, get up, in like a really low demon voice. I just was like, get up. I remember my dad popped in my head. I have no idea why. But I just like thought of him, and I got up and tried to tell myself that all the little spots from the falls weren't hurting. And I think other guys fall too. I don't know that it materially impacted my race in the end. Yeah. Other than maybe mentally over those sections being a little frustrating that I felt so much. I think at that, so I came from like 20th at Sugarloaf probably to like 7th, 9th at this point. I think I was like squeaking into the top 10 right there.
Okay.
It's tough. You had a lot of people coming at you, and it's funny because they're like, you could have 4 people in a row tell you different numbers of where you're at, and you have to like pass her, and they're like, you're in 9th, you're in 13th, you're in 6th. You're like, wow, maybe I do average these. I'm like, probably close to where they're saying I am. Came into Twin Lakes. I still felt really good. Like my legs were still working and operational. And then I'd say like 70 in, it just started to get hard to run normal. I was still able to kind of keep a shuffle going, but for what I feel like I'm used to at the end of hundreds, I wasn't running like I kind of, even downhill, I feel like late in races, I can normally really thunder and keep a pretty good pace, just even with thrashed legs. But this was a little different. I think it came back to some of those earlier miles where I had gone a little bit too hard on some downhills, maybe. Yeah. And who knows, maybe that's just kind of how I was going to feel towards that stage of the race. And sometimes that's the case, but I think I was really paying for going out a little bit too hard early. And then I was with Devin Olson at this point. He was my pacer, and he's just done so many of these. He does them at such an elite level, and he knows me really, really well. We've done this before for one another and just tons of races. And I was excited that he was going 38 miles with me because I just knew he knew me. And it turned out to be super true. I I feel like normally I'm better alone. I'm actually not great with a pacer. It's almost like it's weird. It's like I'm like feeling apologetic to the person if I'm hurting, and I kind of like, it gets in my head, and I almost feel like sometimes it doesn't help. But with Devin, he just knows exactly how to push me, exactly how to keep me going. It was great about reminding me with food. And I do really credit him. Like that last 30 miles, I don't think I move as well as I did without him kind of like not accepting walking and just being like, we're running. Like, and not that I ran every step, but really, especially coming home, because Outward Bound is about, I think, 73 or 77. Yep. And I definitely, that was kind of the lowest point in the race for me, where it was getting hard to run. And Devin would just be like, hey, let's walk out of the aid station, get your legs warmed up. But then as soon as we get to that spot up there, we're going to run. And we're just going to see how your legs feel. And sure enough, my legs would feel a little better and I'd be able to run a good clip. Powerline felt really long, coming back up over. I'm sure that probably feels true for everyone at that point in the race.
Totally.
You've done Leadville, I believe.
I have.
Yeah. So you know that pain.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I know that pain of just looking up and seeing headlamps like a mile and a half up there. And you're just like, how in the world, dude? Like my legs are just destroyed.
Yeah. And I really was like looking behind me a lot because it was still day at that point for me. And you can, it just feels like you're walking into a movie set, you know, where like the background never changes and you're like hiking up at Powerline. You're like, well, is that the top? Man, this is like never the top.
Yeah. Yep.
So I got through it. I felt like I moved fine up that. It was almost nice to get a break from having to run because my legs were pretty beat. And then I remember being just super nervous for the next few sections because there were a ton of trail sections and I had been falling so much that, I mean, I stopped falling after those 6 falls. I hadn't fallen since really, other than a couple of toe stubs. But it was in my head for sure that I was like, I am going to fall so hard around Turquoise Lake and I'm tripping over my feet. And I just was like starting to get nervous for that. And it turned out to not be bad at all. And I was really happy with the way the final miles went because I was super nervous that they would be even slower than they were. Mm-hmm. And then, so coming out of May Queen, last 13 miles, I ran, which I did not anticipate my legs allowing me to do. I ran the whole section around the lake, which was probably one of my favorite parts of the race because I just got a good groove going again. And then there was this full moon flashing over Turquoise Lake. And it just was such a sweet way to finish. It felt like a painting.
Nice.
Yeah, it was all about, you know, I think you get this. I think anybody that runs ultras gets it, that's like what it's about. Those moments where it just feels surreal and you're really proud of what you're doing, but you're also like just in this really special moment. And that whole part was really, really fun for me. And then at the end, I started to see a headlamp and that was Adam Kimball. And that meant that I had to like I would call it for 100 miler, a sprint at the end of the last 2 miles. But for anything else, it was like barely jogging. But for what we were doing at that point,
like sprinting really 9-minute miles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think we saw like 8:11 was the pace that I did for my last mile, we thought. And that was all thanks to Devin there too, because he just ended up saying, hey, you need to push. You're not getting past. Nice. And we just kind of like, I did my best to make it feel like I was running really fast.
Yeah. Wow. And this is your first Leadville.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
I'm officially an ultra runner.
Oh, come on. You've done hundreds before.
I know. I kid because the question's always like, oh, you run ultras? Well, have you done Leadville?
Yeah, so that's true.
completely kidding that I can now officially answer that with a yes. I have ran.
So I just did some quick research here, and you ran, it looks like 45 minutes faster than your last Run Rabbit run, which was 2 years ago. I'm not exactly sure of the elevation difference. Do you feel like you're in a better fitness, better physical conditioning this year, or what would you attribute that to?
That's a good. I think Leadville lends itself to a little bit of a faster race. I think the new Run Rabbit course, while really beautiful, I really like a lot of the changes that they've made. Tons of trail. There a lot of the downhills are switchbacks, so it's tougher to get like rumbling the way that you kind of can at Leadville.
Okay.
So it's not even which one's harder, because I'm way more destroyed after Leadville than any
Really?
100 I've done. I'm more wrecked now than I was after Nolan's, which is like
Wow.
a really big surprise, but
Yeah.
I'm just more sore. And I just attribute that to the runability of the course being so fast. I don't think it's easier necessarily. It's just there's less kind of switch backing even when there is a downhill. I don't know if I could say I thought that I was going to say Leadville's easier than Run Rabbit, but I actually found them to be incredibly comparable as far as difficulty. I don't think that I'm fitter than I was then. I think I was actually a little bit more fit when I ran Run Rabbit. Shockingly, I had a fall in that race.
I'm sensing a trend here.
And I was struggling just with some IT band stuff. So I feel like I lost some time in that race where I kind of think I could run the same time at both courses. And maybe that's like a super naive view, but I feel like they're really comparable. I think I could do Leadville better too. I think I could come a little bit more fit. I think I could be at a place where I've been able to train to the course a little bit more specifically versus just like getting miles in. But I also felt like I had something to give the Run Rabbit course, you know, so on both fronts, I felt like there was potential to do it better. And all that said, I have so many races out there that are, you know, there's just a ton of hundreds, and I'm really excited to explore a lot more of them. You know,
Yeah.
I don't see myself returning to like the same one over and over, at least not a lot, just because there are so many cool ones out there.
For sure. Yeah. Well, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. Are you going to come back to Leadville? Do you feel like you can better your time? But I mean, you just kind of mentioned you kind of want to get out there and do some other races. Like, what is on your mind for the future? Are you looking at trying to get into Western states? Are you looking at any other races?
I think Western is one that is actually been acutely on my mind. I think it really suits some of my strengths as a runner, and one that I could probably, I don't know, I just would love to test my mettle there too. You know, It's like the best of the best show up there, and if nothing else, it's just really fun to get challenged and pushed by the best racers. I think that's what was so fun about Leadville too, is there's just so many strong runners in that field that you feel like it's like, man, if I slow down, somebody's going to catch me. And, definitely would love to run Western. I absolutely will be back to Leadville someday. I think as soon as possible. I just know that I'm fairly committed mentally to UTMB next year. I had deferred from the COVID year, which was the plan during that year. It was UTMB. You know, that's another one of those things where just obviously being able to do it would be incredibly fun. It's going on right now. So
yeah,
it's cool
it is. Yeah.
One of my good friends, Jay, is running it. Go, Luke.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really excited to run that race. I think that's what I'm looking forward to in 2022.
Awesome.
But I see myself just trying to throw my hat in a lot more races and just trying to go, you know, went from Nolan's to Leadville, and I feel like I'd love to just test how versatile I really am as a runner and start racing against awesome competition. And I think as much as anything, and I speak for everyone in the trail community when I say this, I'm just excited to have racing back. I mean,
Yeah.
I could feel that energy at aid stations during Leadville, you know, like coming through, I was just like this kid with a smile on my face. I can't believe people are cheering for me. I really, like, I could feel, I think, people's excitement just to be back at races.
Yeah.
And I'm just really excited to get my name in more race hats, and whether they're competitive or not, just kind of pumped to get back out on the race scene and kind of re-fall in love with everything that I fell in love with in the first place about the ultra community. And you know, that word at the end being pretty critical, that it's about the community and how much fun we all have together. And I know I've missed that. And man, you know, as much as I had some big dreams to be on that podium at Leadville, it was just so refreshing, energizing, and invigorating to feel all that energy and excitement around the race. And, you know, just having all that kind of coming back at you. I was really fun to be back out there.
Totally. Yeah. The energy did seem just like a little bit higher this year. Like everybody was just that much more excited to be back. And, God, I must have just missed you at almost every aid station, you know, but yeah, Twin Lakes was just on fire. And I sat at the finish line for a good hour and a half. And it was just insane, man. Like it was just crazy this year.
Yeah. I was laughing running through aid stations, like literally just laughing. Like I would repeat things like, this is so cool. So cool. I've never ran in a race like that where the aid stations were that explosive. I think just the way that Leadville's set up from the aid stations and where the crews end up being, even in a year where I think people probably brought less folks than they usually do to crew, just because of some of the COVID stuff. I still felt like there was just a palpable feel and energy to every one of those spots. And I've just never experienced that before.
Yeah.
So excited for UTMB, where there's a ton of that too.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's definitely one of the reasons why I see myself coming back to Leadville, is just I had such a special experience from the way that I felt like the community at each aid station in the Leadville community embraced me as a runner as I was going through. It was just awesome.
Yeah.
And I undoubtedly will be back to experience that again.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I love it. Well, fantastic performance, man. I mean, what you did out there is really impressive. And when I saw that you know, I knew you had made the top 10, but when I saw it was 7th place, I'm like, good God, Hannes, like you crushed it, man. And you're one of the good ones, man. So it made me smile. It made me happy. So I was definitely pumped for you. And yeah, man, just can't wait to see what's in your future. I can't wait to see what happens at UTMB. And I'm in your corner, man. I'm cheering for you. So just keep doing you, man.
So much. I appreciate that very much. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really stoked for all your success too, man. Your podcast is doing great. So always fun to come on. I'll come on anytime you ask me.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. Well, just keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, stay in touch. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Cool, man. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
Hannes. All right. See ya.
See ya.